Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jian Ma. I am an SRE coming from Google. This afternoon, I'm going to talk about some of the principles and practice used by Google SRE. And also, I hopefully can provide some insight about how to build an SRE team. So with that, let's go ahead. So this is roughly what I'm going to talk about: introduction, service level objectives, error budget policy, making tomorrow better than today, shared responsibility model, and summary. First, introduction. What is SRE? SRE is short for Site Reliability Engineering. This is a concept, actually a way of organizing the ops work, originated at Google in 2003. You can find different kind of definition. One way to define it is that it's a framework for operating large-scale system reliably. But the second one is we typically paraphrase from Ben Traynor, the VP of engineering inside Google, who many consider to be the founding father of this concept. SRE is what happens when you ask a software engineer to design an operations function. So let me emphasize these two key things here: software engineer and operations function. So inside Google, SRE own running the system in production every operational level. Or put another way, we own the production system. And Google SRE published 2 books on this topic. The one on the left is a Site Reliability Engineering book we published in 2017, which was a pretty hit. The one on the right, we just published this year in July. I think this slide is a little bit out of date. We published in July. This is the companion book of the first one. Provide, on top of the concept, also provide the example how to get things done, how to organize. So who am I? My name is Jian Ma, as I said. I spent 14 years working as Google SRE. I started in the Google as a Google Ads SRE. I continue on to the Android, and then I'm in the team called CRE. Actually, I am the first Google Ads SRE back many, many years ago. At that time, Google was much smaller than now. So as a benefit of that, actually, I witnessed the SRE concept, how it started and progressed in Google. You know, the ups and downs, the correction we made, this kind of thing. CRE, the team I'm working on now, that's the reason why I'm here to talk about this, is that it's short for Customer Reliability Engineering. This is Google's way of basically trying to push the SRE concept into industry to help the Google Cloud customer to operate large-scale system in a reliable way. And also, I'm one of the author of the Site Reliability Workbook, the one we published this year. So today, I want to talk about 3 principles of Google operating our site reliability. Number 1, SRE needs service level objectives with consequence. Number 2, SREs have time to make tomorrow better than today. And number 3, SRE teams have the ability to regulate our workload. What does it mean? First, let me start with the service level objective, which is, it's not a new term for many, but it's a key concept for us. Let me describe why it's so important for Google SRE. Service level objective, or short for SLO, is a goal to measure how the system behave. On top of that, it's specifically trying to measure the customer experience. Or in short, in plain English, it basically means that if customers are happy, roughly speaking, the SRO goal has been met. And typically, you can define it in many different ways. And I can give a quick example here before we discuss on the inside of this thing. For example, the first 2 we are talking about availability. the uptime 99.9% a month or 3.9. If you do the math, it basically means that in a month, you could have 43 minutes of downtime. This is the math, quite simple. Or the second one is 200 OK ratio. You can say 4.9 in a month. It'll give you basically 3.5 minutes of non-200 ratio. The third one is the ball latency, 50% percentile under 300. And the fourth one is another example about the log processing. 99% of the log requests processed within under 5 minutes. This is typically when you see the pipeline style thing. You have the transaction, you have the backlogging, you're processing, this kind of thing. Okay, so we just gave the talk about the example. So what's the difference between SRO and SRE? SRE stands for Service Level Agreement. So here's the difference. SRE typically, from our experience, is defined as part of the contract between two different companies. There are financial consequences, penalty and other things, if they are not met. Maybe because of that's one of the reasons, what quite often happened is that the customer's experience cannot be sufficiently expressed by SRE. That's why the SRO kick in. SRO concentrate on user experience. What next? Now we have a number, we have a monitoring line, you have that, then what's the consequence? Because without consequence, we just mentioned there is no financial penalty, so what's the consequence? Here is a second concept I want to talk about today. Inside Google SRE, we use this word, error budget policy. So this is what we found out. If you ask anyone, typically ask them, how reliably do you want your system to be? The answer quite often is, the more the better. But everybody knows, especially the crowd here, knows that 100% reliable is expensive. You have to make a sacrifice on your development velocity and engineering time. So what do? We introduce the budget. Error budget. Error budget is basically the gap between the project perfect reliability, 100%, and what we defined early on, 3.9, 4.9, that's it. The budget is to be spent. In plain English, what it means is that this is what we do. Okay, we just had an incident. We had 20 minutes of downtime. Let's assume we have a system targeted at 3.9 reliability. We have 20 minutes downtime. We can talk without guilty feeling that this month, we still have 23 minutes in our error budget. Because we have 43 minutes for the 3.9 reliability for the month to spend. So what's the policy? Here I gave an example on how we define it. Different teams on different servers inside Google define this differently. These are just examples, give you a taste. So goal is that we want to have a visible improvement on reliability. That's a goal. Example, here is the example that as an SRE, we can stand and tell all the counterparties inside the company, feature developers, infrastructure, and many others. We said no new features launch allowed. Essentially, it means that we have the power to say feature freeze. We also can say that team, either it's a feature development team or SRE team, during this feature freeze time period, your action item only come from the postmortem action items, freeze. And also could also say that we want to have a daily meeting with them, with us, and discuss what can we make improvement. So let me summarize the principle number 1. We SRE demand and define the SLO to be the SLO with a consequence to be the first thing. It also means that any organization, even without hiring a single SRE, can have the same error budget policy. This is just an idea. You can implement this today by starting by measure, account, and act. Okay, so now let's dive a little bit deeper on why we are insisting on this SRO thing. We want to make tomorrow better than today. SLO and SRE and the error budget are only the first step. The next step is staffing SRE role. The SRE role should have a real responsibility. It's not just advisory or anything. Real responsibility. So that's what we found when we build up the new teams, the SRE team inside Google. We define and refine the service level objective as the number 1 task. This person, or this several person, is at the position to evaluate and sound alarm that the SRO is not met, the customer are experiencing pain, and we want action to be taken. Some action, I just gave the example, freeze, this, and other things. So here is a little bit, so here is what we consider TOI. I think this might be a little bit surprising for many. TOI is not it's an active word in our world. It covered things like you are going on call, you are doing firefighting, you are doing the incident management, this exciting part of the thing, to the not so exciting part of the thing, capacity planning, and for example, you're doing as a part of the release, you are checking here and there dashboard and looking for the success or failure of the canary before it goes to everywhere. All of this inside the Google SRE circle are considered to be toil, and toil is negative. As such, it's a general practice inside Google SRE. We want this part of the work to be no more than 50% of our time. This actually, among many, many things we want to do and we succeeded to do or failed to do, this is the one we quite successfully done that. We review it. If the team found out that we have more than 50% of time working on all of the toil I just described, it's not good. So what is not toil? What is not toil is project works. What we consider project works, the list are quite long. Let me give you some examples. First thing at the question we did a lot is consulting with system architecture and design. So basically means that there's a team, a PM, and developer team want to start a new service. They have design doc, they have review. SRE got quite actively involved even at this stage. We go there, we tell them that from our experience, in order to operate or design a high reliability system, what route is better than what is not. Essentially, everybody knows that during design phase, everything is a trade-off. So we provided the SRE perspective of the trade-off. This is one part of that. We also do authoring and iterating and monitoring. Actually, we have a lot of coding in this area. My own, my personal engineering efforts are in this part of the area. One of the projects I finished last year is that 4 of SRE wrote a system to processing time series anomaly detection for 1.1 billion time series in real time. So that's the kind of thing we do. And we also do the automation and automating all of the repetitive works. And the last one is actually also one thing quite important. Writing, what we found out is that writing postmortem, listing a whole bunch of action items is not difficult. But that's only the first step. Because this long list of action items could belong to either feature developer team or SRE team, or quite often no clear responsibility. It just doesn't work. SRE quite typically taking the role of coordinating the implementation of this thing. Essentially become some kind of PM, but with a passion. Because we got paged, we got firefighting, we got excited, now we want to see this thing fixed. This is the full circle. Next page. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So let me summarize what we talk about principle number 2. SREs have time to make the tomorrow better than today by make this very clear. We are not there to take the operation load. We are there, take the pride to make the tomorrow better than today. So this is the third topic I want to talk about today, shared responsibility model. Here's what we do it. This is one thing I think, so far from what I heard of many other companies doing things, is quite unique. Google is a very big company, has a lot of services. If you count the number of the project or the developers working on certain project or service, majority of them have no SRE support. In another way, SRE only support a minority of the services Google provided. This is counting the number of the project, and which in a way represent how many developers are there. However, of course, if you look at another way, the QPS, the user, the revenue, majority of them are supported by SREs. What it means? It means that we do not, by default, take on a production system. Default, we do not. They have to work together with SRE to pass certain bar in order to get SRE support. The bars including, of course, obvious one, you have enough user, your service means something, but also it means that your system has to be reliable enough. You follow the SRE's practice, you listen to us, we all work together to get it reliable. And also, almost as important, the management team, the executive team of that service buy in. This word buy in is not new. I've heard many teams inside a different company doing this, exactly buy in. In our world, the buy in is real. If you don't do anything, by default, the feature development team, your executive, your whole team, in charge of the service. We can help, we can do the arc design and consulting, all of these things, but we don't take it. In order for us to take it, in the Google's way, is that SRE is a totally different management architecture. However, our headcount are funded by the service owners, which means that there are real financial decisions for the top executives to make in order to get the SRE support for the service. This way, they have to think about it, and then after that, as we said, they have to pass certain bars, reliability and other bars before to take it over. But it also means that we can control our workload. If we are overloaded, there's no way for us to writing code to improve, to do the project work, to make tomorrow better than today. So this way we can control it. We can regulate our workload. There are some examples, different teams doing things different way. For example, in this case, we can give the 55% of the operation work back to the developer teams. This is talking about, it's a mature system. I'm not talking about in the transition period. This is the mature, like ads, like this kind of thing. We gave them a little bit taste on what's the on-call shift, rollout management, and ops task. What we found out is that this actually is quite useful to get them understand our principle, our operation model, and get them motivated to react to what we ask, rather than separate out. SRE's project work are also just like, as I described earlier, we are software engineers, most of us. Our project has a design doc, has everything. It's just real project work. Actually, inside Google, it's basically typical practice is that there's no boundary what SRE really is. Let's see, you are very passionate at Java garbage collection, tuning, which many consider to be art. Nowadays, typically, if you're inside Google, you're looking for the best Java garbage collection tuning expert, they are SREs. However, not everyone wants to do this kind of thing, but just to give you a flavor on what SRE do. There's no boundary. We are real software engineer. We do a whole bunch of things. And we only onboard them if they can be operated safely. And if this, let me explain the last part a little bit. If every problem with the system has to be escalated to its developer, give the pager to the developer instead. What it means here is this. Quite often what we find is that during the transition, early stage of the service go from the developer into SRE, the service is so immature that not only we don't quite understand what's going on, even the developer team, they're different part of the sub-team, they don't know what the other sub-team is doing, so we have to go back to ask whoever wrote this specific feature, what's wrong. If we see this thing happen several times, Google SRE's general practice is that we'll just send the alert back to whoever is writing it. We'll say that this is not something, the best way to utilize our time, your time. You have to make it more reliable and make it more uniformed. We'll help you, but this is your responsibility. Before you do that, I'm sorry, but this is your pager. Leadership buy-in, as I mentioned earlier. So the last part, I provide one example of the whole thing, how they tie together. When we run out of the error budget, we tell the leadership of the develop feature service team that you have to put your developers on this reliable works, system reliability works, or because everything is the budget, everything is the math, you can loosen the SRO. Let's go from 4.9 to 3.5.9 or 3.9 or 2.5.9. Typically, at this stage, the service owner team, the business owner of this service, will be quite nervous because this is the real number for them to going down. They say, well, we were through 4.9 system, now we are 3.9. But we made it clear, this is the one option. And this way, we can make them understand that it's much better to consider reliability early on in the whole life cycle of the service, rather than you finish design and throw it over, and there's the operation team to do that, which in this case is SRE. Automation is also what we do a lot. We eliminate toil, capacity planning, and fix issues automatically. The last item, to fix issues automatically. The internal saying is this: if you can write the fix in a playbook, in a process, in a documentation, you can make the computer do it. Essentially means that writing code to fix the system automatically. Even, let me be honest, even in the programmer circle, from time to time, we push back, say, it's so complex if I write code to do this. It's much easier I write documentation next time you read it. I'm talking about with each other, I'm not saying outsiders. But still, because of the background of majority of the Google SRE are software programmers, software engineers, programmers, we heard quite often people just say, okay, let me show you how to do it. That's the end of the discussion. Also, let me summarize the third principle. SRE teams have the ability to regulate our workload so that we can spend time to work on project to make the tomorrow is better. And in order to have time, all of the time, you have to realize our goal is to make the customer happy. How happy are the customer is a number, is a math. And the math is calculated by the SRO. So that's a summarize for the third one. And that's summarized for all I'm talking about in this 20 minutes. SRE needs SRO with consequence. SREs have time to make tomorrow better than today. And the SRE teams have the ability to regulate our workload by different ways, including pushback. Thank you.